Good morning. Great to see you all. My name is Nora Abousteit. I'm the co-founder of a do-it-yourself fashion company where people make their own clothes, and I will talk to you today about the power of making. There's a British art critic called Crispin Wellbeloved, and what he says is that it's probably not a coincidence that we call the best kind of sex making love. So you see two passionate people up there making love, and I'm going to show you some more passion. You all know those two. This was taken in the Palo Alto Homebrew Computer Club. And Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, they went there because they were passionate about making, and they like to impress their fellow members with the computers they made. So what I'm saying is that Apple, a multi-billion-dollar industry, and all the industries and products it inspired, was not started by a computer scientist with a PhD, but by people who are passionate about making. And we're assuming that there's more about this passionate energy, more of this energy of making, and you know what it led to when you look at those two. Then I wonder what's going to be the next thing, right? So let's first have a look at the virtues and the quality making. What's its DNA? Where does it come from? You have passion of this. There's this inner drive to make something, to push to the edges. Van Gogh, many paintings, died in poverty, but this is what he had to do. There's a sense of accomplishment, and this is actually me in a soapbox, and it was probably one of the happiest days in my life when we actually could ride that soapbox that we made. These are my wheels of my bicycle, actually. So especially now, the sense of accomplishment, it's a really important quality that people want to feel after endless streams of Twitter and Facebook. To have a finite end product, it's quite a relief, actually. There's generosity in making, passing on a skill, sharing the experience. The mother is knitting, the daughter is learning, the mother has a gift, the daughter has a new sweater, and they have a bond. Making is probably one of the oldest open source movement in the world. And then there's also the reality escape that makes making so special. So some people resort to drinking, to drugs. When you make something, you're in this zone, and it actually becomes quite meditative. And it's probably also a bit healthier than drinking or drugs. And in the end, again, you have that product coming out of it. Making is about innovation. This is a Norman Rockwell painting about the watchmaker, the Swiss watchmaker. If you make something, often it takes 20, 30, 40 hours a month. You heard about Malcolm Gladwell's outliers and the theory about that you need 10,000 hours to achieve mastery pretty much in any field. First, it's a bit frustrating, but then it becomes quite pleasurable that it also becomes somewhat addictive. And making is also about innovation. Making is actually an active way of thinking. So if there's an expert faced with a problem, she will start making and then probably unfold all kinds of new possibility. And making is also about sanity. So in the World Wars, the British Red Cross taught their soldiers about making. There's trench art, which you might have seen, little ammunition that were made into planes and vases. This is a cross-stitching piece from the Second World War from a British major that was in German captivity. And it's pretty much just a sampler of cross-stitching. He actually taught 40 other prisoners in cross-stitching to keep that sanity. And you can see that there's like an unregular line around, there's a frame around the swastika and the hammer and the sickle with dots and a Morse code. This was exhibited in 4 different prisoner camps by the Nazis. And what this Morse code actually said was, God save the king, fuck Hitler. Guess he was right. So you saw and understood, I think by now, the power of making and all the energy that pushes it and all these nice side effects, all these virtues and skills. And this kind of making already once transformed the first stage of the World Wide Web in the 90s. First, it looked like this. This is a basic browser back in the 90s when you could only consume, you could read the news, Maybe you could shop something. But then we are all here at Web 2.0 Expo, so we are all very familiar with that. Then the new web started, where it was all about making blogs, tagging, being interactive, commenting. And that's when myriad amounts of companies and new industries basically exploded. So it happened in the digital world, but actually in the physical world, it's the other way around. Making actually got lost in the physical world. And back in the days pre the industrialization, we had a house that was centered around production, where people made their own clothes, where people made their own food. Maybe they specialized in one kind of production and they would sell it to other households. So there was a major shift after industrialization, and it was just about consumption. And that we've been experiencing for over a century, and it's about time that that ends. So, and that's what's happening right now. Just like the web became participatory, there's also a transition in the physical world. The consumer became the prosumer, and now she's becoming the maker. Already, there's a crafts industry, just in the US alone, that is a $30 billion market. $30 billion market, people buying yarns and crafts and fabrics and glue and electronic kits and you name it. You know the Joannes and the Michaels of the world, but there's a lot of new, very innovative companies that are responding to this new trend of making. So you have Adafruits that sells DIY electronic kits. This is an open source clock. You have the MakerBot, a desktop printer that you can purchase for under $1,000, that for desktop printers that used to cost maybe $10,000 and more. And if you have a rusty nut, instead of going to the store or ordering it online, you're just going to print it. So, and then you have Maker Faire, of course, where almost 100,000 people meet at one weekend. 100,000 people coming to an event to learn about making, to make things, and to purchase things for making. So making used to be very linear. It used to be passed on from one person to the other. And actually, if this one person died that didn't pass it on, then that skill was lost. Right now, on the web, we have a lot of platforms and tools that enable us to spread that making and to multiply it. You have Instructables, where pretty much anyone can teach anyone about everything. BurdaStyle, my company, where we focus on the power of making your own clothes, where you can download sewing patterns and learn in tutorials and how-tos. And then, if you want to, you can make a living out of it. Etsy right now has 10 million users. Over 800,000 active shops that are selling handmade goods on Etsy. So you've seen that all these networks and all these sites, and there's a movement right now that's empowering people to make things. More people will feel that sense of accomplishment, will learn the patience and the mastery. They will get the skills, and they will find happiness and hopefully sanity. It's very satisfying to make. And as John F. Kennedy said, we choose to go to the moon in this decade, as in a few years back, and to do other things not because they're easy, but because they are hard. So it's extremely satisfying to learn something, to master something, to then own it. And that's why making is so powerful, and this is why there will be a new transition. So basically, I'm telling you, after the digital maker revolution, there will be one in the physical world. And if you want to stay on top, you better, because you need some practice. Thank you very much.